Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, who is currently right now at International Space Station. So today he is going to have a conversation with the students and scientists who have gathered in ISRO's UR Rao Satellite Center. So there, the students will be asking him some questions and he will be answering those questions today. So we will be hearing him right now from space. So just a quick heads up, today's conversation depends on a real-time connection with the International Space Station, and based on the position of the station, the atmospheric conditions, the timing and signal may change a little because of the conditions in space. But please don't worry, we do everything we can do to get this amazing experience for you. This opportunity is brought to you by Space India. I myself, Manali Rekha, I am Assistant Director of Education at Space India, and I'm very privileged to be host for today's special interaction. Joining me today is someone who has dedicated his life to astronomy and space science, Mr. Vikrant Narang, our Chief Technology Officer and a seasoned space expert. He will guide us in understanding the science, the technology, and what is going behind that live communication that is happening. Also, we are joined by Mr. Sanat Kumar, right from US. So he is there sitting from Pittsburgh. It's very close to Maryland, and Maryland is the place where all the action is happening today. That is where the ISS is going to cross over, and that is where the connection is going to be there for Mr. Sanat to receive that signal for us. So just making a small introduction for him. So Sanat completed his MSc from Shivaji College, Delhi University. He is known for his passionate science communication since his day as a planetarium educator at Nehru Planetarium, Delhi. In fact, a lot of our space members connected to him through the planetarium itself. In 2004, he left for University of North Dakota to study space sciences. He is an expert in remote sensing and loves to study about forest fires. He's currently working as a physical scientist at NOAA, where his contributions to the algorithm, which helps to detect the forest fire, is actually making sure that we keep our planet safe. He's also a licensed ham radio operator with the call sign. You can see his call sign right there in the screen itself. It's Alpha Delta Zero Beta and
Bravo kilowatt.
Bravo and K. I think it's K last. Yeah, I was written as a Mr. as R, so I was just confused there. Sorry for that. So now, before we dive into to know more about this, I just want to start this interaction with small personal experiences that I had. So I began my journey as an educator in 2011, and one of the first topic that I got to teach of classes of class 4 students was International Space Station. So after the session, the student used to come to me and say, "Ma'am, is India part of this International Space Station? Is ISRO involved in this?" And at that time, in 2011, I'm talking about good 14 years back, in 2011, so my answer used to be, sadly, we are not. There are 16 countries involved with it, but sadly, we are not part of the International Space Station. But today, 14 years later, we have an Indian astronaut right there at the International Space Station. So as an educator, as a space enthusiast, and as an Indian, this is a moment for a deep sense of pride in me. Now, talking about the International Space Station, it is a global symbol of unity because a lot of our countries have come together to build this, and it is also a sign of scientific progress in space. This was launched, the first module of International Space Station was launched in the year 1998. Now, talking about 1998, let us go to Vikrant. Vikrant, can you take us back in 1998? What were you doing in 1998 when the ISS was being launched?
Hi, Manali. Thank you. Hi. Well, to all of you, all people who are joining us, well, students who have joined us, and thank you to our entire panel. Thank you, Manali. It's like wonderful. Today we are waiting for this contact. And in 1998, I was just graduating from the school. And that is also the time when later, when I was teaching astronomy, I got to know that in 1998, during my birthday only, the International Space Station was launched. The very first module, Zarya, was launched on 20th November. So it's a wonderful memory. And like you shared, when students asked us, why is India not part of it? That time also we used to wonder, we should be a part of it. And today we are, the history has already been created and we are witnessing that moment. And it's a proud moment for all of us. Over to you.
Okay, that's really incredible, Vikrant. And I'm sure each one of us have something connected to space, to International Space Station, and what is going to happen with us in the future as well. Now, let us talk about the man of the hour, who is Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, who has become the first Indian astronaut to reach the International Space Station. Vikrant, I would love if you can share more about him and the missions he's currently undertaking. Also, it would be great for our students to understand how it connects with India's own dream, our human space flight, the Gaganyaan mission.
Thank you, Manali. That's a great question. So I will be sharing my presentation. So you asked a very wonderful question. So before I start talking about Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, let me tell our audience that we are now waiting for the contact, which will begin in about a few minutes. I'll give you the exact time. I hope you can see my presentation screen at this point of time. I can't see anyone's face, so just let me know by your words if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sanat. So there you can see Captain Shubhanshu Shukla sitting in the cupola. So today is something historic. We have been waiting for this opportunity where an Indian astronaut would visit the International Space Station and talk to students of India. That's something which happens when every country's astronauts go to the space station, they get opportunity to talk to their home country. And this is the first time since Indian astronaut is there, Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is getting this first opportunity today, 4th of July, which is the Independence Day for the United States. So to Sanat, a happy Independence Day. And we are getting this opportunity where we will be seeing. This will start at 3:47 p.m. Indian Standard Time. There will be a 10-minute reception of the International Space Station, which we will be doing today. So during this reception, we will be hearing Captain Shubhanshu Shukla's voice live streamed from the International Space Station, which is currently over the ocean. It's going to be reaching sometime over the United States. Now that's when Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is going to be connecting to the Indian students sitting in UR Rao Space Center in Bengaluru, India. And what we are doing what we are doing is we are listening to the conversation, not patched through the ISRO Center or NASA Center, but directly with the International Space Station. So we have the advantage of listening directly when Shubhanshu Shukla will speak over a radio. Radio means you can see a phone in my hand. It talks over radio frequency. So similarly, Shubhanshu Shukla has a ham radio on board and it will be communicating to ground when the International Space Station will be over United States. So I'm repeating again, at that particular time, the International Space Station will be over United States when this contact happens. And school students in India, some of them who are specially invited are going to ISRO. So we are, all of us will be joining with Space India right here as we listen to the downlink. Now, please note that at this point, when we will be listening to the downlink, we will be hearing the voice of Shubhanshu Shukla. That is the name of our program, Akash Vani, Antariksh Vani. So space sound. So this sound represents the sound of our astronaut in space, what we are gathered here to listen to. So you are eagerly wanting to know who is he. I'll come back to that point which Manali asked, and I'm going to be explaining how this ham contact will be facilitated and what is the technology. It's a very interesting technology which is going behind it. But I'll be briefly sharing, before that, I'll be briefly sharing some wonderful videos about living in space. So let me tell you, we will not be able to be, but we are trying to listen to the sound of students asking questions to Shubhanshu Shukla. But there is no guarantee at this point of time. So all we can say is we will be hearing sound of the downlink. That means the sound coming from space to Earth, or the Antarikshvani. Now, moving on to, so, okay. So you can see this is the International Space Station. It's an artistic rendition of the space station. And actually, I wanted to talk about, so, okay, you can see a beautiful rendition of the space station. This is the place where humans can live long term. Many years back, you can see beautiful cupola is there, and we can see the Dragon capsule and the Earth. So the International Space Station is moving very, very fast at this point of time around the Earth, going around at the speed of 8 kilometers per second. That's how fast it is going at this point of time. And I wanted to talk to you. So as you have all joined, so what is my organization? So I'm part of Space India. That's something I missed talking to you about. So this is the organization where I'm working with, and it is headed by my mentor and my boss, Dr. Sachin Bhamba. It was his dream to make space education possible for all people. So we know, if I ask you, what is your favorite subject? Please type it in the chat box if you are there logged in the YouTube. So, I'm sure you would say that a favorite subject, if the schools were teaching it, would be astronomy. So that's what we were doing. We were doing astronomy. The best part about astronomy was looking at the night sky, and we wanted all the schools to be a part of it. And sadly, there was no subject. So Space India, I'm proud to say, is the first company which has introduced astronomy education in schools in the form of various programs, such as the Universe Universe in the School, our Space Explorers Workshop, and our space clubs. So all of you are joining. I'm very happy. And so our idea is to bring about a change in the society through science education. So all of you agree that, when we look at science, sometimes it feels very difficult. But, when we do experiments, it's a lot of fun. When we teach science through astronomy, it becomes so much fun. And we teach science through hands-on education. We have many, many accomplishments. Keeping time consideration into mind as the International Space Station is that something I will talk about later also. So International Space Station is a place for human beings. I'll take you back to Mercury program. When in NASA's first human space program was there, it was called Mercury. Total time spent by all the astronauts collectively in that program in space was just 54 hours. From that time, people thought, what is the next step to space? At that time, they conceived that a space station should be there, and there was no technology available. They figured out it has to be joined piece by piece to be constructed in space. Otherwise, it would not be possible to have such a wonderful, however, they dreamt of it. And then a program called Apollo, which took the human beings to space, came, and then we could not have the space station for some time. After Apollo space program, the idea of space station was people can stay for long duration in space. So I'll just show you how people are living in space. I have a wonderful video of astronauts who are sleeping here in space. And right now, Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is also there in space, among there as an astronaut. We all saw the wonderful video where he entered the space station.
This is where I spend up to 8 hours every day here on board the space station. It's actually on the floor.
Astronauts sleep in space.
You just can't tell.
So, everything we do on Earth is very different. You can see he's standing, but there is no up and down in space. The only worry to astronauts is that when they sleep, they should not, end up waking up in another place. That is why he's tying himself to the other some place. Now, moving forward, as there is a few minutes to the International Space Station. So I'm coming to the international, Shubhanshu Shukla. We'll have a video for him. That's introducing Captain Shubhanshu Shukla.
AX4 pilot Shubhanshu Shukla.
Namaste. I'm Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla.
A fighter pilot for 15 years, he was selected as one of 4 Indian astronauts in 2020.
Captain Shukla, are you ready for the ride? Will you do some yoga in space like your idol Rakesh Sharma did in 1984.
The first Indian astronaut, Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, traveled to space in 1984. I grew up reading about him in textbooks and listening to his stories from space. I was deeply, deeply impressed by him. This journey that I'm on, it has been a long one for me. And it started out somewhere. I didn't know that this is the path it is going to finally take. I would say that I've been extremely fortunate and extremely lucky to have gotten the opportunities to first fly all my life, which was a dream job for me, and then have the opportunity to apply to astronaut corps, and now consequently be here. The way this worked out for me was that probably a week before we arrived at Axiom was the time I came to know that I will be going. I was extremely excited to be here. I was very, very happy because this was a possibility for me.
From the Indian Space Research Organization, AX4 pilot Shubhanshu Shukla.
Namaste. I'm
I
Group
think
Captain Shubhanshu
because
Shukla.
I'm not able to hear the audio of this, so I think the video is repeating itself now.
One of 4 Indian astronauts in 2020.
Captain Shukla, are you ready for the ride? Will you do some yoga in space like your idol Rakesh Sharma did in 19...
Okay. So he has made India proud, and he's carrying several experiments, 7 experiments, to be carried out in the microgravity environment of space, because space gives an opportunity. Space is very unlike Earth. So I'm sure all of you are right now comfortably seated in a chair and not floating around in your room. But if you were to go to the International Space Station, you can imagine the things would be very different. One of the experiments I want to particularly talk about right now is the experiment to do with muscle atrophy. So, you know, our body needs energy to work, and even muscles need energy to maintain. When the body senses that in space you are not lifting any heavy weights, so the muscles starts to undergo decay, body starts to use the energy of the muscles, and muscles require energy to be built. So when body senses that there is no need for a muscle though, so why should we spend energy in building the muscle? So what happens to the astronauts is they start to lose the muscle mass. That means it's called atrophy. That means it starts to degrade. As it degrades, you find the astronauts when they reach home Earth, they find difficulty in walking, because their muscles have become weak. So what Captain Shubhanshu Shukla was doing in last 2-3 days is he started the work on his experiment, which studies the stem cells, which studies certain cells related to muscles, and under a microscope to see what is exactly happening. So as a result of his research, some of you will become the future astronauts, will have easier time living in space. So we just have about 10 minutes, about 12 minutes to go for the, how many minutes to go for the contact? Yeah, about 13 minutes for the contact. So I'm going to talk about the specifics of this contact, and we'll have 15 to 20 minutes to chat about many things. So this contact is enabled through ham radio, and Sanath here is a ham radio expert with us, who is a licensed radio operator in United States. And next you will hear how, this is a very famous picture, a very famous video of Neil Armstrong, where he uttered the words. So you would have heard the words, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And here is a astronaut on board the International Space Station. Yeah. So you can see him talking to students. Okay, so you can see he is working on a ham radio, and he's talking to students on the ground. So you can see students on the ground, such as today in UR Rao Space Center, would have gathered like this, where they would ask. This contact is facilitated so that people can ask their questions to astronauts. The main purpose of such a contact is to inspire the young generation, that is most of people who have gathered today, all on YouTube. So it is to inspire, because one of the main purpose of space program is not only to learn how we live in space, but also to inspire the next generation. That is the purpose why space was founded, because you people who are in school right now are the leaders of tomorrow and are going to be going to be leading the generation which is going to be, which we call the space generation. So this is the UR Rao Satellite Center in ISRO, where the team has gathered. Now next I'm going to show you, the next visual I'm going to show you is of a software called GPredict. You can see my screen. Yeah, you can see my screen showing GPredict software, and there is the International Space Station is right now near Australia, and you can see a red track, which is the orbit of the International Space Station. As you know, International Space Station goes in circles around the Earth at a very high speed. You can see there is a map of the Earth at the background. India is there, and it's like Earth. What is the shape of the Earth? Do you know? So it is sphere. So now imagine that you take that spheric, now imagine take the surface of the Earth, which is like a sphere, but you put it in a flat plane. So it becomes like this rectangle. That's the map you are seeing. This is the software which is using the Newton's laws of motion to calculate where the International Space Station is right now. And it is showing that the position marked on the right-hand side of the screen is showing where the International Space Station is currently. So it is also showing on the top that, okay, just a moment. Yeah, so you can see it is reaching the, you can see the International Space Station is now touching the internet. In 9 minutes, we will have the contact. So the contact will begin as soon as this yellow circle crosses this path, okay? NA5B, where you see the NA5B written. That's when we will, so internet right now, you know, it is working on radio waves. Radio waves is the same waves which you use in your home when you use to talk to someone over a phone, or you might have heard, you know, you might have known that aeroplanes talk to the ground over radio waves. They can travel at the speed of light. It's very fast. They can travel in the vacuum of space. Just like you heard the voice of Neil Armstrong, it was communicated from moon to the Earth via radio waves. So International Space Station has that radio through which they can talk to people on the ground. And many people have such receivers who can receive these signals. People like Sanat is there, who is one of our friends, who is there in Pittsburgh, very near to this place. Now the Shubhanshu Shukla is taking out his time specially for 10 minutes. So it's going to be a very quick contact, no more than 10 minutes. And the reason for that is that that's the amount of time the International Space Station is going to be above this place where ground station is there. So students in India, if like very few students will of course get the opportunity to go to UR Rao Satellite Center, but whoever are there are patched through this via telephone. Okay, so you can see this yellow circle is approaching. As soon as this yellow circle approaches this, the International Space Station will be above the horizon for our friend Sanat and this ground station. So anything broadcast by the International Space Station can be heard by anyone beneath this circle at that time. And it's completely, perfectly legal to do. And it's fun hobby for people who do it. So it's only about 9 minutes to go. In 2 minutes, I'm going to hand this over to Sanat. What you need to remember is it's going to be a fun to decipher, because we will only be listen to the voice coming downwards, not the voice going from student side. So you all can guess what question he is asking. So he'll be answering questions typically about living in space. So after that, you can ask us any questions. So after Shubhanshu Shukla's voice, we will have a small discussion. And any remaining questions which you want to answer, we will have that 15 minutes for you people to ask your questions about living in space or how you can become an astronaut in India. So at this point of time, Sanat, if you want to take over, Sanath. I think it's time you can take over now, because what we are starting in a few minutes now is acquisition of signal. So Sanath, you will get 5 minutes before we have the acquisition of signal. That's the time where you will hear his voice. Okay, Sanath.
Okay, so we are moving over to Sanath. First of all, we would like to thank Sanath, who has joined us at 6 a.m. from Pittsburgh. And we truly appreciate your time at this early hours, you know, for this, sharing this information and sharing this moment with our students. Thank you so much. To you, Sanath, now.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Manali, Vikrant, Ranjit, and Deepak. I got the opportunity to meet you guys. Wonderful that you guys are doing this. And I recall 1984. When I was in 5th grade, and I heard Rakesh Sharma and our old Prime Minister Indira Gandhi ji have a conversation. So that came out just now. This is, and then I recall Indira Gandhi ji was asking, "Upar se aapko Bharat kaisa dikhta hai?" And then the first answer that came out was "Tare jahan se acha," right? And I feel the same excitement. Bilkul, like, you know, it feels like a time machine. Hey, hopefully I'm audible to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Can I get a thumbs up? Yeah. Okay. Great. So on the screen, just Vikrant ne bola ki we do have the same software. I'm using a lot of open source software, so we should credit them. The software is called GPredict. It's anybody can use it. That's what's shown on the left, and on the right is an SDR sharp. SDR stands for a software defined radio. As we always thought about a radio which has a dial and you're listening to a frequency. This radio se kya hoga, you can listen to all the frequencies. So that's that's an advantage. And if you think that a radio or television ka channel is like a slice of bread, so that's the advent of the modern technology. A few quick things. On the left-hand side, bottom, you do see these frequencies. Vikrant ne bola ki we're going to be listening to a frequency, right? It's about 145, 800, whereas radio is actually tuned to a different frequency. And the reason being, Vikrant had already mentioned, the ISS is traveling. Do you see my cursor on the screen? I guess not. If you look at the top left panel, which tells you the GPredict, it tells you that the ISS, Vikrant says yes. So it tells you that the speed is about 7.66 kilometers per second. I'm not sure how many people have been hearing trains going through a check gate. It does something called a Doppler effect. Trains are done, you hear that, right? And that's basically is going to happen with the ISS on the radio frequencies as well. So halaki they are transmitting back down at 145, 800. The frequency we are going to receive, if it is coming towards us, the frequency will shift a little higher, and that's why we are slightly 3 kilohertz higher. Agar dekho 800 ki jagah 803 kilohertz pe hai hum log. And then if it is going away, you'll find that it will drift away from 800, it will go lower. Taki dur jab jayega, the frequency is going to go a little lower. It's called a Doppler shift. So go back and read and check with your physics teachers what is Doppler if you don't really understand. That's something which you would love to hear. So what else? Just a quick description of the panel, what you can look for. The next ISS is basically about in 2 minutes. So in 2 minutes, it should be clearing the horizon. So I'm right now situated very close to Pittsburgh. And if you can see my hand, this is the direction of northwest for me. So ISS is going to come from this direction. It's going to go above my head and it's going this way. So that's how I'm facing south. So that's my current situation. Hopefully, if I increase this noise, somebody gives me a thumbs up if you hear this noise. Okay. So before the ISS comes in, AOS, it's called the acquisition of signals. It's going to be in 1 minute and 33 seconds. So we might 1 minute and 33 seconds. We are expecting the ISS to send a signal, but just like Vikrant mentioned, we may not be able to hear. 2 reasons. There's an uplink, which I'm not going to hear. We can possibly hear only the downlink. And to complicate things in the atmosphere, yahan par ek pahad bhi hai. So there are a few things which might restrict me from hearing Shubhanshu Shukla. So anyhow, I'm really excited, and I hope you're all excited to hear the first Indian astronaut. Of course, we should also think there have been multiple Indian origin astronauts. Apart from Rakesh Sharma ji, we have Kalpana Chawla, we have Sunita Williams. We also had a private astronaut, I think it's called Gopi, who went on a private mission. And Shubhanshu is definitely the first representative. And it's good that after 41 years, we're now making a bang, and it's going to be a big one. And hopefully the Gaganyaan project is successful, and it inspires the next generation of scientists and engineers. Okay, so I think I'm just going to be quiet now for the next 30 seconds, and I'm going to share the sound, and hopefully we'll get the audio.
1 minute to go.
Hey, if I mute myself, will you all hear? If I'm just going to try and mute myself.
I'll tell you, Sanat, you can mute yourself. Yeah. So all of you can see it's less than 1 minute to go.
I think international collaboration is the key to success of a mission like ISS and space. Even for our mission, Axiom 4, agencies like ISRO, NASA, SpaceX, Axiom, ESA and JAXA, everyone is coming together to make this mission happen. And I've realized the power of global collaboration for making such missions happen. So definitely global collaboration is the key if we want to strive and move forward. These are very challenging and exciting experiment, and there are a few that I like. Actually, I like all of them, but there are a few which are really interesting to do on the station, especially the ones concerned with stem cells and it is also hard because your body has to adapt to these new conditions. And I think the most exciting part of being in space was definitely looking back at Earth from this vantage point. It is big, it is very beautiful, and it just reminded me of how fortunate we are to be on this planet with everything that we have. So that view for me station, and as well as station, working with people from many different countries and nationalities. I think the entire experience is very, very exciting. The most difficult task, I would say the most difficult task is to go to sleep because of the excitement that is around. You know, you are here for a short time and you want to do more and more. But as you understand that we have a busy activity planned, so you need to get your rest. Few days first we challenge use the microgravity, but thereafter it will be and so yes, I would say over. Yes, I have. I was able to bring 3 different type of foods, which was developed by ISRO in collaboration with DRDO, and that was the amras, the gajar ka halwa, and the moong dal ka halwa. And I must tell you that everybody here loved it, and we sat together and shared the food, and they appreciated of how good these were. And it was a good moment. We brought together foods from different countries and got to share it together with all the crew on the station. Over. The experience was exhilarating, I would say. The rocket launch was very dynamic. It was very fast, and as you go higher, you go faster, and the accelerations were quite high. The rocket goes in 2 stages, first and second stage. In the first stage was fast, and then the second stage accelerates you to your velocity of almost 8 kilometers per second. So the launch was very, very fast. Those accelerations and the launch was great as well, because you are floating in free flight for about one and a half days. So it was very exciting to see that. Capsule approaching the station. Talking to the board. I think there were crew already who were waiting to receive us, and this was a for a long duration mission. So I was really excited to see them, and the capsule is a very small place inside which you are kind of tied to your seats, and there is very little space to move around. But
All right, great. So we have the International Space Station has crossed the horizon. So near the end, so luckily, it was near the end we lost the signal. So claps. Great contact.
Great contact, yes.
So I think we were able to figure out what questions he is asking.
Yes.
And
I like the moong dal ka halwa and amras.
He got amras, gajar ka halwa, and moong dal, and he shared with everyone up there. So Indian food reaching to space now.
So we people were, here in my office, Ranjit and I are there, who were keeping a tab on listening to the astronaut voice apart from Sanat, so that in case something happens and Sanat's receiver is not there, Ranjit and I were taking care that a backup voice would be visible. But when Sanat lost, even I lost the sound, Sanat. So it was the same time. We had two receivers. So for everyone's knowledge, we have two receivers today. One primary as Sanat's and the other as backup. So it was fun listening to.
Yes, it was really amazing.
And as predicted, we couldn't hear the sound of the uplink. There was
questions.
From the questions, but I think it wasn't hard. So you can write, what did you understand? Like all the people who are listening to it, what were the questions you thought were coming? So I'm listening to your chat right now.
So I think he talked about his rocket launch experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly, Manali. So he talked about his rocket launch experience. He talked about, so people are writing. So please write down what questions. So, and we are available. So I'm also available with, so you can ask us any questions.
I think one very interesting question. But before I go further into the questioning round, I just wanted to say that, this just wasn't a contact that we established. It was a connection between Earth and the space, a connection between dreams and reality, and a connection between science and imagination. So this has been journey, and this will be the journey which we will be continuing. And I think I had one very interesting question in this section. Someone wanted to know Sanat's journey of how he got into ham and what was his journey till now. So even I'm interested, so I picked up first.
Well, I think the journey began way back in '82. We used to live in Chennai. It used to be called Madras at the time. And my grandfather was neighbors with this ham radio operator. And he had this huge antenna. It was way big. It was bigger than his house. And now I know it's called a cubicle quad. And if you guys were curious, just Google or just do an online search for cubicle quads, and you'll see how big that antenna is. In fact, right, I have a big antenna right now on top of my house too. It has been my childhood dream. But the way it started was definitely like pehli baar I switched on a radio. I was in 5th grade, 6th grade, 5th class, 6th class, and jab radio on kiya, so I knew that India exists and we have a lot of different languages. The first time when I heard Russian, Chinese, and some of the languages which I didn't understand, that kind of broadened my horizon, right? I know I was no longer like a frog in a well, right? I mean, you know that there are other civilizations that exist and there are different countries. And immediately I got interested in ham radio. And luckily for me, I met the right people. At that time, there was a group called the National Institute of Amateur Radio in Delhi. And it was our old Prime Minister, Dr. Rajiv Gandhi ji and Sonia Gandhi ji. They were all ham radio operators. And they had a massive movement to popularize. So NIR was one of the institutions which offered a course on how to be a ham radio operator, and that's how I became a ham radio operator. And it's been an onward journey that's nice. In fact, yahan aane ke baad, I've been in the US for the last 20 years. Yahan aane ke baad, I do have an equipment where I was able to contact Datta ji in Ahmednagar, and I think that was a very proud moment for me. The radio is all behind me. I made my own radio, I made my own antenna, and I pointed it towards India, and I could hear it. Just had to make sure that you have this amazing conditions once in every 11 years. So right now we are at the solar peak. As Vikrant pointed out, radio waves travel in a straight line, right? So ISS is to reach it earlier. Like an Earth is curved. How do we go around the curve, right? At certain frequencies, the atmosphere can act like a mirror, and so you kind of bounce the signals off. So if your frequency is above 50 megahertz, which is the case when ISS is about 140 megahertz, we can talk in straight line, we can talk to the moon, we can talk to the edge of the universe. But if it is lower than, say, 30 megahertz, the signal is not going to get out of your atmosphere. It's going to bounce and be within the Earth. So yeah, that's been a very fruitful journey. I wish Vikrant or Sachin would be a ham radio operator too, but I know in their hearts they are trying to be at some point.
You should try now.
You should try.
Definitely.
It will widen your horizon. You get to talk. It is not like an internet chat. A lot of people might actually think it's a social media. No, it's not. It's a combination. You make your own equipment, you write your own software, and you make your own friends. And then it's slightly different. So it's not kind of a swipe or a move. It's not some kind of a social media technology. Although it can be used, it's a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it could be very interesting also to start understanding the concept, building it up, and
I will tell it. I know. And if you don't have, the first time I made my first radio in India, Delhi mein tha, and I made my radio and I was testing, right? And then at that time it was not the pre-internet era, and we were testing it out. We want to make sure the government has rules and regulations that you cannot do a spurious transmission, so you have to test with your call sign, and there was a lot of regulations, and I was using a very low power, and I was testing, and to my surprise, an Australian ham replied back.
Oh, okay.
It is, and then the surprise, the radio. If you use a radio, the guy in Delhi may not be able to hear. As I told you, it reflects off the atmosphere, right? So जब reflect करता है, तो बीच में there's a shadow region. So there's something called a hop.
Okay.
So you can for some frequencies you cannot hear your neighbors, but then you can hear your long distance neighbors, and that's what we call as DX. So some of my very proud moments was again one of those times when I was testing a radio, when I was not looking for a contact. Somebody says, "Hey, I can hear you. Your radio is." He didn't think it was good. He said you have issues, but he conveyed the point.
Okay, that must have been really interesting, right?
Thank you, Sanat. It's like it was a dream come true today to have a contact, which we were waiting for. An Indian astronaut in space, and we would listen to it and probably have our own children asking. So right now we have a lot of students asking this question, lots of questions, and Manali is taking care of it. So Manali, you can go ahead. We can. Sanat is not an astronaut. I am not an astronaut, but we are all space
aspirants.
So one question that I have is, sir, 5G signals sound better on Earth. Why not in space?
My God, that's Sanat's domain.
Okay. 5G does not stand. The G does not stand for a gigahertz. The G stands for a generation, right? So it depends on what kind of technology you use. The frequencies used are somewhere near the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum region. So as technology evolves, there are different ways to communicate, right? When we started looking at it, what's called a Doppler, right? If you saw that when ISS was coming closer, the frequency drifted towards the higher side, and when it went away, it was going to the lower side. So, if you use a frequency modulation means you're putting the intelligence on the frequency. So when the frequency itself drift, then the intelligence is corrupted, right? So this is actually not the best way to communicate with ISS. This was actually a good way to communicate on the ground when the stationary things, when things are not moving. That's why aircraft does not use this. Aircraft uses what's called AM, amplitude modulation. So that is a little independent of frequency. So even if the frequency drift a little bit, your audio is still correct, right? So for different applications, different technologies can be used. So 5G is another technology which is good for cell phones and mobiles. It's a fifth generation, right? I mean, I don't want to explain it all. So let the curiosity remain and go hunt around what is AM, what is FM, and then look for what is cell phone technology or cellular technologies and how different they are. There's something called time different multiplexing, because a lot of people share the same spectrum, right? So we all can't shout at each other. We all have to take turns, and sometimes those turns are decided by electronics.
Okay, thank you, Sanat. Vikrant, to you. So with Shubhanshu Shukla being the first Indian astronaut in ISS and, upcoming Gaganyaan missions, I'm sure a lot of our students would want to become an astronaut in the future. So what should they do? How should they
wonderful question. So to answer you, so India is having 3-step plan towards 2047. Let's understand where do Indian astronauts fit in and what is the plan India has announced and what students can do right now. So India has announced plan like first step for Indian human space flight program. It cannot be called manned space program only. It's a human space flight program by India, which starts with the launch of 3 astronauts on board Gaganyaan mission 400 orbiting the Earth at 400 kilometers orbit. Every 90 minutes, they will stay there for I think 3 days or more. And that's the first step where only 3 astronauts are going and 1 is backup. So all those are selected. Next step is going to be India is putting up a space station in orbit by 2035, and towards the 100th anniversary of India's independence, India plans to have a person on the moon. So that means we will see a lot of human spaceflight programs. Not only one mission of Gaganyaan will be required, but several missions of Gaganyaan will be required to go and construct the space station in orbit or construct a lunar base. And we could in future hope to see more people going to International Space Station from India. So the people who are in school are right age. Someone was asking a question, will we get an opportunity in 50 to 100 years? No, that's not true. This opportunity, when you grow up, this is an opportunity right in front of you. And the training ground is school. So your astronaut school, you can consider as a astronaut training ground. So where you can take in, like, what do astronauts have in common? They like science, technology, engineering, and maths. They are good leaders. They are good in communication with others. They can fix things. So these are the qualities people are looking forward to in astronauts. So that means being the best student you can in school is the best insurance against. So if you talk to the biography of astronauts who have gone to space, so they've prepared, like even Shubhanshu Shukla, see, they are very focused people. So he prepared for it, and they don't get discouraged. So even Shubhanshu Shukla took so many years, after training started in 2019 and 2025, he's getting opportunity, and many times it doesn't happen. So after your school, the next step is to do engineering. So have a study in engineering. Like people can be aerospace engineering is one way you can look forward to. That's one way going like this. And the second way is to buy a ticket to space. Like India paid 500 crores for this mission. So people can, if someone can afford it, they can go to space even in smaller amounts, but for shorter missions. So Sanat can add. Sanat is a very wonderful Sanat inspired me in science. So Sanat, you can talk about the importance of science to add to this. What kind of mindset to have in school.
See, just to add to whatever Vikrant was saying, in the past, most of the astronauts, they've been coming from the armed services, and for a good reason, because they're disciplined, as Vikrant rightly pointed out, and they had the best of physical abilities, and they were willing to take risks. Nowadays, I think the situation is slightly changing, where the physical ability, you don't have to be the perfect ideal. There have been people who have been fairly old, and what you would have called not necessarily the prime of your life, going to space. William Shatner, my favorite character from Star Trek, he went into space at 90, right? The technology is changing, and I hope, so it is not just meant for the next generation, it is also meant for the current generation and the generation ahead of me. We all can go to space, and if we can afford it, yes, as Vikrant rightly pointed out, there are a lot of commercial ventures. I wish Sachin and Space can actually start a space venture. That'll be really lovely. And I know that there are a few startups in Bangalore who are actually looking at 3D printed rockets, and they're having their own space program. And I really hope that they achieve that business success within my lifetime. I know I'm being a little selfish. I want to see the world in one place. And in fact, some of the work which I do is remote sensing. That means I'm looking at Earth from outside. And if you recall some of the astronauts' common themes, the first thing they say is, we went outside to discover ourselves. जब तक आप ऊपर से नहीं देखोगे, आपको पूरा the whole unit will not be seen. I'll be seeing my house, my chair, my desktop. But once you go to space, ये मेरा planet शुरू होता है. It is not my country. It is not my state. It is not my city. Then we see this one planet. There's no imaginary boundaries. You see the planet as one, and you see how precious it is. And I wish all of you the best of luck. And I know some of you are preparing to be an astronaut. Be excellent in everything. I think to be an astronaut, you just have to be really good in many things, not just one thing, in many, many things. Not just in science, not just, as Vikrant pointed out, in communication, in technology, in math, science, engineering, and to take risks.
And I think collaboration as well.
Collaboration, yes, definitely. You have to be
definitely.
It's very difficult to live with 10 people on a small tin can.
Yes.
For a long time.
So, okay, Sanat, thank you for sharing such beautiful thoughts. I think this will inspire our students, and they will definitely take up, and it's been such an historic moment today to listen to Shubhanshu Shukla from space. So as we come to the end of our today's event, I just want to say this. This is the true essence of STEM. It's about curiosity that dares you to ask, exploration that ventures you beyond the boundaries, innovation that transforms ideas into action, and a shared human drive to reach for the unknown. To all our students who are watching this, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and never stop looking up. The sky is not the limit. It is just the beginning. Thank you, Vikrant. Thank you, Sanad, and our audience for joining in today's historic moment that we shared, every one of us shared together. I would also like to thank Space India to bringing this opportunity for our students. It was, just for the students who were assembled at ISRO's Satellite Center who were actually just getting this chance. But thank you, Sanat, so much and Vikrant and Space India for coming together, doing this collaboration so that our student can also hear his voice from space today. To our technical team, so we had technical team Ranjit, Deepak, and Ravi, along with the backend support team for bringing this broadcast to you. The entire recording of this session will be available in Space India's official YouTube channel. So please feel free to watch it and share it with your friends as well as family. Let them also share this moment with us. Until next time, this is Manali Deka signing off from Antarikshvani. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep reaching for the stars. Thank you.